Inclusionista Tourista here. So it's our last day in Helsinki. Kind of, we're feeling a bit sad about that, aren't we, Gorge?
Yeah, sure are.
Because we've had a really great time. We've been here for, 12 days I think, and it's flown by. And so this is our last day, and just look at the weather. This is like fantastically warm. It's about 24 degrees. And this is, I don't know what the Finnish name for this is, but this is their kind of like urban beach. And we've just discovered it today. And Margot's having a great time on the beach. Aren't you, Margot? Eating something disgusting, I think. But I think what I'm going to miss about Helsinki, the people, I think for sure. We're staying in a great part of the city called Kallio, and there's lots to do right close to where we live. Downside is that everything's really expensive. I've been quite surprised by how pricey. I knew it was expensive here, but I didn't realise it was as expensive as it has been. But we've met some really lovely people, visited some really great organisations doing some good work. Finnish, probably the main disabled person-led organisation, have been really welcoming. Thomas from that organisation has organised some really good meetings for me, both voluntary sector, NGO sector, but also ministry people. I visited some really good schools, both in Helsinki and outside Helsinki, Finnish speaking and Swedish speaking community schools too. I've seen bits and pieces of inclusion, but if I'm honest, it's been integration really. Lots of children with low levels of support need being part of mainstream, or what they call here regular school, which is years 7 through to 15. But all the kids that are usually in special school are in special school. We visited one special school. All of these I'm going to write up into my report, just because the names are very long and they're a bit complicated to say, I've got to tell you. But all the kids with learning difficulties are almost certainly in special school here. There are small numbers of special schools, but that's pretty much where those kids are. The one that we visited is the first special school that I visited since I left my own back in the 80s. It wasn't great to be there, just because a special school is a special school. It's the same wherever you go, and they don't change. They are effectively about normalisation. They're not about inclusion. I think what's a bit interesting here is that they have this initiative, although it's not very well supported, that special schools become development centres, so they're no longer schools providing an education as such, that they are about becoming more of a community resource that support all of the local mainstream schools to be more inclusive. So the special school that we did visit is supposed to be that, and yeah, they used to have 200 kids there. They've now got 60 kids there. That's still 60 children too many, and many of the kids that we saw are very, very young children, kind of like in years of 1s and 2s, which they'll be 7 and 8 year olds, just shouldn't be in special school, but they are still in special school. And the main reason for that is cost. These are kids who are on the upper level of the support needs framework, of which there are 3 levels, and yeah, they're expensive, and they have a whole range of access requirements. And regular schools here have enormous autonomy, far more than UK schools. Really absolute autonomy, even almost outside the law, it seems. And so they can say no. They can say no to disabled children that they think are going to be too expensive or are going to be a bit complicated in terms of how to meet their particularly their learning requirements. And guess what? Teachers here have a huge amount of power to say no, but teachers here don't have the right training. They have very good training generally, in that they have to be trained right up to master's level, but everyone has told me that they don't have training around how to teach inclusively. So that's all the negative stuff, I think. The positive stuff is, I think in Finland, they have all of the building blocks to be inclusive. What's missing is the political will to make that happen. So they have small schools, really small schools. One school I visited had 160 children in it, years, that's from 1st grade through to 9th grade. The biggest school that I visited was 360 children, same level, year 1 through to year 9. And they were considered to be a very big school. And that, by the very nature, means that teachers and support staff know their children, and they spot children who maybe are getting into difficulty, both socially or academically, really early on. And so they can get to grips with the support they might need much sooner, because they're aware of all of those individual children. They have a national curriculum, and every school has to teach to that national curriculum, but they have a huge amount of flexibility that allows them to be creative, and it allows them to teach much more to the children that they have in their individual classes. Class sizes are anything from 5 or 6 if those are special classes within mainstream, but really the absolute limit is 20 to 22. We didn't see any classes that were any bigger than that, and teachers will have the right really to say no more than 20. Children are tested, absolutely, but they're graded on a yearly basis that seems to be, the assessment of that seems to be based on how the individual school wants to test their children. So it's not a case of children sitting down in rows having to regurgitate the learning from that year. It seems to be much more flexible from that. So as you can hear, this is all the stuff really that allows schools to be inclusive, but the political will doesn't exist. I should also say, I don't know if I've said it in previous films, the law is pretty good here. How the law turns into practice, I think, is questionable, and that goes back to the point that I made, that teachers just aren't getting the training that they need, or really they're not aware of the support and the materials that are available. I've been to a number of NGOs over the last fortnight who are producing some really fantastic resources for schools, really good materials that allow teachers to differentiate the curriculum, but teachers don't know about it. So there's, I had a meeting with the Finnish National Education Agency yesterday, and yeah, they need to be doing more. They're aware that they need to be doing more, but it just seems to be there's the age-old kind of like passing the buck about who has responsibility to make that happen. So I think they've got everything they need here to be more inclusive. The real issue is about getting politicians to really make that happen. They've got a general election next year, but they have a growing neoliberal agenda here, and that's a worry. And everyone that I've spoken to is worried about that. So it's been a good trip, hasn't it, Gorge?
It's been very good, yeah.
We've really enjoyed it, and like I said, we met some great people. And I suppose at the moment it's too early to think about what I'm going to say in my report, other than they have the building blocks here to make inclusion happen, but it's just not happening at the moment. And so yeah, so it's Saturday, we're getting the ferry to Germany tonight, and then back to the UK early next week, and then we're off to Canada. And I'm really hoping Canada meets all of the expectations that I have already. So it's goodbye from me, goodbye from Gorge.
See ya.
And goodbye from Margot. And see you. I might make a quick film when we get back to London, but I think next film's going to be from Canada. See you.